And I don't know if you remember, we sold a home for this old man who was retired. He had an assumable loan. I'm like, man, I spoke to Anne, I negotiated 150. I should have asked for 140. It's like the Hindi movie wherein you're driving the car, then you'll say, oh, I should have bought for less. I should have bought for less. I should have asked this. When you go, you're trying to eat. That's again that sound. So that guy made his money from crypto, Bitcoin. He bought Bitcoin, or he put like 100,000, then it became $1 million. You don't want to be like a clock that is not working. I mean, it shows the right time 2 times a day. And also in Hyderabad, if you ask for directions, right? If you ask somebody, oh, where is this house? Even if that guy doesn't know, he doesn't want to tell you that he doesn't know because his ego is hurt. He'll say, oh, just go straight, go left and right, you'll find it there. They'll just say that. I always tell my wife, I feel like very says, oh, mortgage lenders are misleading the public. Something like that. Or real estate professionals are misleading the public. The biggest weightage you have to give is to your spouse. Because if the market crashes and you go by, she's going to just go straight, okay?
So, next question is from Sonal. It looks like they bought their home in 2021 when the prices were a little high. And then now everyone knows, like with the market situation, the prices have come down. So she's curious about the return on investment and when the situation might improve, what they should be doing. So some suggestions that you can share with.
I still think, they're still paying less monthly probably than they would to rent that same home. And, it's a 10-year investment. It's not a 1-year investment. So even if the market adjusts even further down and they're still paying less money to be there than they would to rent, I feel like they're safe. It might be more difficult to sell and then buy another home. Um, I've seen that happen where if they did sell, they might sell for less and have to put less of a down payment on the next house. That's the only way to make that move, or rent the house that they're in and go to the next house, which wouldn't be a bad plan either because it should have been a long-term investment anyway.
I mean, it happened before also, wherein they bought it at one price and the home values have gone down. You have to look at your options. First option is if you have to sell it, you have to sell it for a loss. That's the reality, that's the truth.
Yeah.
But the question is, are you able to handle the payment and keep the house until the cycle comes around, wherein the home prices are going to go up again? Okay, try to hold on to it because you probably have very good interest rate if you got it in 2021. So the interest rate almost doubled. So your monthly payment is low already. Even if you have to rent anywhere in that area, it's going to cost you high. So if you're living in that area, I wouldn't worry about it. It's like buying a TV. Once you buy the TV, you don't worry about it. You enjoy it. Even if Best Buy sells it for $200 less, you just can't do anything about it, right? It's like that. You just enjoy the TV. Don't worry about prices of the TV. Only when you're selling is when you really lose. I would say don't sell if you don't have to sell. You can't refinance it because if the value goes down, you cannot refinance it. Because if let's say you got it for 5% down, the lender minimum wants 5% down. And if you try to refinance for the same loan to value of 95%, which is 5% equity, your interest rates are higher, so you cannot refinance. You cannot do a cash out. So I would say sit tight and do nothing and wait for the market to come back up, and then you should be good.
I think what we're also going to see, and we talked about this one other time, is, let's say the interest rates go to 8 or 10%. Well, with that home, you could do an owner carry and you could offer a
Yeah.
7% interest rate. Maybe you have a 3% interest rate. You could make some money on the money and become the bank. So you would do an owner carry instead of being a landlord, you'd be bank basically in that scenario. And, a good real estate agent, title company, attorney can help you set that up properly. But as interest rates go up, the mere fact that you have a low interest rate is
See the
extremely valuable.
yeah.
Yeah.
People don't realize. See, you have to you have a debt on it. You didn't pay cash for it. So you have to look at the big picture. Property value is just one aspect of it. The interest rate that you have is the second aspect of it. The low interest rate that you already gained is big bonus. It's an equity. It's like an asset for you in your pocket. The second thing is, and I don't know if you remember, we sold a home for this old man who was retired. He had an assumable loan.
Okay, yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
Single level house in Chandler.
Hmm.
So it's an assumable loan. When it's assumable, that means that some buyer should be able to assume the loan and take over the terms of the loan. Meaning, if they got the loan at 3%, the new buyer can get it for 3%. So it's a big selling clause for
Oh,
people. Lot of homeowners don't know that their loan is assumable. So you have to check with your mortgage and see if it's an assumable loan. If you got an assumable loan in 2021,
mhm.
even if the value is down, people would hope to buy your
Yeah.
house at the same value that you bought it, even though the market is higher. The reason for that is your monthly payment will be lower, and people are trying to get low monthly
And
payments.
even if it's not assumable, like I said, you can work with an attorney, establish a wrap to the loan, and do the appropriate paperwork to make it work. But yeah, you have equity just in a different way with that low interest rate. I mean, because that's just invaluable right now, especially now that rates are higher.
That's a great word, equity in a different way. That means equity you don't have it in value, but equity you have in interest rate that you score. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't worry about it. I would just sit tight and chill out.
Yeah. And she was asking whether the situation will be better by say 2024. I think you already answered her question, I feel. But from this question, I wanted to ask whether you were also in a similar situation where you bought at a price, it went down, and then after a couple of years it came back because you were
Yeah, yeah.
patient about it and
Yes, multiple times.
multiple.
Multiple times. Because market is cyclical.
Yeah.
And you buy at some price and then it goes down, then it goes higher. Coming back to the transaction we did on Fargo, I bought it for 150. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember. So I bought it for 150, and after I bought it, immediately buyer's recourse hits, right?
Hmm.
Buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm like, man, I spoke to Anne, I negotiated 150. I should have asked for 140. Because you see something else going for 140.
Yeah.
I saw something else go for 140.
Mm.
But then I already bought it for 150, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have waited. But then after 6 months, I saw that homes are selling for 175,
Yeah.
200, and now the same home is almost half a million.
Yeah, you can't let yourself get it all wrapped up in your head over I could have gotten it for 15, 20. I mean, when it gets to be 10 to 20,000 in difference, give or take, plus or minus, and you didn't time it perfectly, you really got to let yourself let that go because in the grand scheme of things, in a 10-year period, and in your case, in about a 2-year period, you were very happy with the
Yeah,
decision to get something that over time becomes an asset. It's a great contributor to your future wealth.
it's like the Hindi movie wherein you're driving the car, then you'll say, oh, I should have bought for less. I should have bought for less. I should have asked this. When you go, you're trying to eat, that's again that sound comes. So it happens wherein it is cyclical. The prices dip and then they come back out. Again, referring back to our original episode on where we talked about affordability, home prices do drop down. You cannot go crazy or go into panic mode when they go down because they come up.
Okay. And it will happen from time to time. So
Yeah,
just get comfortable with it. And if you plan to stay there for like 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, then you don't have to worry about it.
exactly. I mean, the thing that you have to worry about, again, talking about Silicon Valley Bank, 97% of their accounts were more than 250,000. 97% of their accounts. Only 3% of the accounts were less than $250,000, and only less than 250,000 is insured by the FDIC.
Mhm.
So anybody who was with cash sitting in that bank, even if they had like $85 million in it, they'll only get 250,000. So even cash in a bank is not safe.
Yeah.
Forget the asset that you are buying. At least the asset we know with supply demand, with the dynamics, it's going to come back up. I wouldn't worry about a primary home mainly. Then I wouldn't worry about an investment home which is rented and is cash flowing.
Well, and overall, I mean, you got to look at our environment right now. Just holding your cash in your home is a bad idea. That doesn't increase in value. Stock market is very unpredictable and you have zero control. At least with an asset, you're going to have some tax write-offs. Maybe you're not going to make $1 million overnight, but even if it just breaks even and stays steady, that's better than it dipping down to 50% of its value, which I feel like you have a risk of in almost everything else you could do.
You
So
have
I
a risk
still
in
feel
almost
good.
everything. That's a
Yeah.
very good point. Excellent point, and you have a risk in every investment. Any investment you do, there is a risk. Even in real estate, if you ask ChatGPT or your buddy, they are going to tell you all the pros and cons. And then if you are just wound down with all the cons, you cannot invest in real estate. Then
Yeah.
you go to stocks. You ask ChatGPT, you ask your buddy, he's going to give pros and cons. You invest in gold, equities, everywhere it's like that. So what's the best? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Whatever you are comfortable with. If you already bought a home, just sit tight, wait for the market to go up.
Yeah, and I think best option is to learn about these things and get comfortable, get knowledge on that, and get some clarity.
Education is like the most important thing to understand how each of these investment vehicles work. Unless you're educated, you cannot pull the trigger. Unless you're educated, it's not going to give you a good night's sleep. If you people who understand stock, how it goes going to go up, then they know they feel comfortable. Ultimately, it comes down to how comfortable you are.
Yeah,
But back to something you've said to me a few times is all of us have a tiger chasing us. Otherwise, we're not going to succeed in life. And you always have some degree of being uncomfortable because even you and I both, even though we've bought and sold real estate now for quite some time, I mean, I still get buyer's remorse. I still get a heart racing. I still have doubts. And I feel like a lot of people have that for even a couple years into a purchase, like this particular person that bought in 2021 does. So I just feel like that's a natural part of it. But if you're not challenging yourself, you have no opportunity to grow. It can't feel good all the time, or you're just going to stay status quo and never grow.
yeah,
So
that is true. And I'm also big on learning. I try to learn whatever I can get my hands on, and the way I look at these things is the more I learn, the more clarity I get. Be it real estate, I've been sitting with Kiran and I've been absorbing whatever he's saying and trying to make sense of it. So I'm sure after a couple of months, I'll be in a better shape than what I was like 2 months back. I didn't know it. I did not know anything. But now there are so many things that least I remember and I can go deep and do more research on my own. So same thing goes with real estate. The more you learn, more you study, you will understand things better, you will get more clarity. Same in our jobs. We reskill ourselves, we understand things better, we are able to do more. So I
No,
think
that's a
that
great
makes
point.
perfect sense.
See, you, Sunil, is one of. I wish I was like you when I was younger because I was not asking questions to the professionals. I was trying to get my information from my friends.
yeah.
And there is nothing wrong with friends. They have good intentions, but they are not doing it day in and day out. So, hearing it from the horse's mouth, they say, right? You have to hear it from the right professionals who are doing it day in and day out or who have experience for a period of time. Because I remember I sold this home and for 1.5 million in Chandler.
Hmm.
So that guy made his money from crypto, Bitcoin. He bought Bitcoin, he put like 100,000, then it became $1 million.
Mhm,
Okay. So he sold it right away. With $1 million, he bought this home. He works in IT.
mhm,
Okay. I did his loan. His salary was around 100,000. He bought this home
mhm.
for 1 million. He made all his money on crypto. I was like blown away. I'm like, freaking here. I'm working so hard, investing in real estate, waiting all these years, and he is like a genius. When he came to my office for the mortgage paperwork, then I asked him, man, can you please teach me this Bitcoin thing? I'm working so hard for my real estate investments. He said, Kiran, I just got lucky. I don't know anything. One of my friends told me to put 100,000. I put it, then it worked. Now I would do a big disservice if I advise you on Bitcoin because I don't know it. I just got lucky.
Hmm.
You don't want to be like a clock that is not working. I mean, it shows the right time two times a day. Every day, two times, it shows the right time. You don't want to be that clock. You want to be a clock which shows the right time every time you see it. That's the clock you want to be. And that's why education is so important. You have to educate yourself on the risks, benefits, pitfalls of all these investments. When the opportunity comes, you have to pull the trigger. See, having all the knowledge in the world doesn't help. If it helps, then teachers, professors, academicians should be billionaires. But they are not the billionaires. The people who are billionaires and millionaires are people who are not teaching others, people who are actually doing stuff. Not only do they have knowledge, they are willing to take the risk, they are willing to actually implement the knowledge. They are the ones who are like surging ahead. So those are the people that we have to align ourselves with. There is nothing wrong with teachers. I'm not putting them down, but I'm just trying to drive my point with an example, right? So people having knowledge is not the full solution. People having knowledge and implementing it is a
Yeah,
solution.
I think you said to me once we were talking about um, classes. I mean, self-educating yourself is just crucial for your life in general, but expecting any one person to be your guru is a huge mistake, you
Yes.
know. So you have to constantly self-educate and keep moving forward based on your own education. When you try to take all your advice from one person, most of the time you'll get taken advantage of, and that's why there's so many scammers out there. You just constantly have to work on yourself and educate yourself and learn as much as you can from experts.
And also in Hyderabad, if you ask for directions, right?
Mm.
If you ask somebody, oh, where is this house? Even if that guy doesn't know, he doesn't want to tell you that he doesn't know because his ego is hurt. He'll say, oh, just go straight, go left and right, you'll find it there. They'll just say that. Some of the people that we get advice from, they don't know. So
Yeah.
you have to be sure, you have to do your due diligence. We have to assume that guy doesn't know anything, especially knowing if he's working in IT, how can he guide you on mortgages? Unless he does it every day, unless he got it from Chat GPT or from other places, right?
Yeah.
So you need to get advice from people or insights from people, but your best knowledge has to come within. You have to hear everybody's advice, including a mortgage broker and a real estate broker, and then you have to come up with your
But
trigger
the
point.
person doing it every day is more likely to have the right advice. And I think that's really true in real estate because I hear the news sometimes and I get so frustrated because I get calls from clients that are just, reiterating something they heard on some television station, which might not even be applicable. Like what's the most valuable information is the person that's out there every day that can tell you exactly, like I can tell you exactly what happened today. I saw a full price cash offer the very first day. I saw 15 showings the very first day. So, saying it's a buyer's or seller's market is really the only person that can really tell you is the person that worked in the real estate field today, you know.
And I always tell my wife, I feel like very guilty of not telling my friends to invest with me. But then I'm not a salesy guy.
Mhm.
I never approached any client to ask for business. I never say, hey, can you buy real estate? Or I never pass information with the intention of getting business. When I'm in a group setting, I'm not going to tell my best friend to, hey, buy. Then immediately the guy thinks, oh, he's asking me to buy because he's a real estate agent.
Hmm.
That's what they think.
Yeah.
So that's why I never told my friends. But then when I look back 15, 20 years from
Mhm.
now, I feel guilty for not taking my
Helping
friends
them.
along.
Yeah.
I was doing it. Why didn't I tell my friends? Because people like to hear the big headlines. Even the Bloomberg headline, I was shocked when it says, oh, mortgage lenders are misleading the public. Something like that.
Hmm.
Or real estate professionals are misleading the public. Insurance agents are scammy when they are selling life insurance or something like that. You see these headlines. Headlines, when you see, you gravitate to that.
Mhm.
That's what Bloomberg wants because they want more eyeballs to get onto that article, and that is what they are trying to do, is trying to attract. That's why CNBC, all these headlines, they are written right now. If somebody writes an article that market is crashing, everybody looks at it. And that's the headlines that you see right now. You don't see a headline wherein it talks about Anne's experience of seeing a Paradise Valley home with multiple offers.
Yeah, no, you don't see that.
Because nobody reads it. Nobody. You
Nobody would believe that, but it happened
have to go
today.
with the flow. You have to go with the flow.
I
Yeah,
think the best thing that works for me personally is if say there is a news article like you mentioned, Bloomberg. It's an opinion from some person, right? He sees things differently, and then I'm talking to you. You see things differently. And I think that goes for everyone. Everyone, based on their life experiences, they'll see things in a certain way.
yeah,
Yes, it's fine to listen to everyone. And then when you combine whatever knowledge you are acquiring or information you are acquiring, you form your own opinion.
Correct.
That works best for me.
but also planting seeds. If throughout your life you continue to plant seeds that over time grow, you're going to be successful. If you're always like, oh, I'm fearful, I'm going to stop every time I hear a headline, every time somebody says something. I mean, for example, you're telling me that you saw a home that was $10,000 less about a month after you bought something. Well, move on, don't look back and plant your next seed and you'll be fine. But if you constantly are looking over your shoulder and worried and fearful, I don't know how you ever grow educationally or financially in your future to become successful, or even in relationships. If you even with your wife, if you're not always, planting the next seed and growing, then you're dying. So I think it's easy to say I can lose and I can be fearful, but I don't think that's why we're all here.
Yeah, that's a good question. I remember one more thing that okay, you have multiple lead sources or knowledge sources.
Mhm.
There is another factor. You have to give a weightage to each one. Let's say my dad, who is in India,
Mhm.
he talks about real estate in Arizona.
Yeah.
He's a lead source. He has a lot of experience in life. He has done his own investments in his life. But he's going to comment on real estate in Phoenix. The weightage that I give to my dad's opinion on that is should be reasonable.
Mhm.
Versus me talking to Anne about real estate in Phoenix, the weightage for this lead source is different. Then talking to a friend,
Yeah.
okay, who owns a gas station, who is talking about real estate market is different. Talking to an IT guy talking about mortgage interest rate, his opinion has a different weightage. You cannot give the same weightage to everything. You have to
Correct.
give weightage based on that. The biggest weightage you have to give is to your spouse. Because if market crashes and you go by, she's going to just go straight, okay? So you have to so you have to give weightage to your spouse. And I said it in joke, but you have to be in total alignment with your spouse, who is your partner for life. I've seen too many families wherein they get split because of a bad financial decision
Mhm.
and they just cannot get into terms. And house is the biggest financial decision. It's not like you just go buy a TV and now you can get into terms. You both have to like the property. You both have to agree that this is the right time to buy the property. You both have to align that this will make you happy and only then you buy. If the wife says don't buy, my suggestion is don't buy, regardless of if it's a free house.